What is going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered coming your way right here, right now. This will officially go down your scorecards, episode number 317. You can catch up with Unfiltered courtesy of the Believe Network 24/7, 365. It is easy. Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcast. You also can get us on Facebook, and you can get me on Instagram at Unfiltered with Casey Stern, Twitter as well at Casey Stern or X, if you will. All of those platforms in which there is discussion about Juan Soto, which is why I'm here. It's been belated. It's been delayed. It's been a long time, but I am back, yes, and I'm here to discuss elation and joy. And in some ways, even as crazy as it sounds, with $765 million paid and attached to it, surprised that we have landed here. I've covered a number of these kind of press conferences. I've been at a lot of the pressers, much like the one I just watched. Was there when Carlos Beltran signed. Remember what a big day that was. I remember when the Reyes and Wright deals were mentioned and then came to be true that those two would stay in that infield, and many, many other moments that I was there for and in that room. And I can't even imagine how different all of that must have felt from this in that room, because that is what Juan Soto and who Juan Soto is. We'll get into all that. Is it worth the money? And what does it mean? And my reactions and my thoughts as I've gone through all this mentally here over the last number of days since we found out, yes, officially, after all the discussion and all the hope and all the thought of could he, would he, will he, did he? Yes, Juan Soto officially has put on a Mets jersey, and 22 is now in Queens. You, as always, are here, courtesy in large part to our good friends at BetOnline. They're your world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, live odds, and spreads to bet on all during the games. And when the game's over, head over to the online casino, get in a game of blackjack or poker, unwind with over 150 slot games. You can head to the website today to get in on all the great action. It is BetOnline. The game starts here. And let me start here with something that you all need to drill into your heads, whether you're watching or listening, wherever you're watching or listening, you're a Met fan or not. And that is the following. No baseball player, no one playing a game is worth $51 million a year or $765 million in totality over a deal that covers 15 years. None. So if you can't get over that, then I can't help you, because all of that is reality. There's no firefighter, no first grade teacher, no nurse, and a million other things I could think of that are making anywhere close to that, and they all deserve all of that before anyone who plays baseball. And guess what? The players know that too. And some of you can't get over that. So the idea that, well, he's getting overpaid. Of course, he's getting overpaid. However, this is the part you need to think about, right? You ever go to somebody's house and you sit there and you say, wow, I can't believe they spent all the money on that. Why a koi pond? Why that aquarium? They don't need 3 Ferraris or whatever it may be. You ever go there and think, well, if I had that money, I'd never spend it on that. And that may be fair, and maybe that's true for you. However, if you had that money, it really wouldn't bother you. And Steve Cohen has the money where this isn't going to bother him. Where the last 4 or 5 years of this contract, where even if it's great over the first 10, are going to be abysmal at that age for Soto, whether he's at DH or not, that money is not going to bother Steve Cohen because he has that money, and you and I don't have that money. So you can't sit there and say what you would say for any of us mortals. Now, the crazy part is you can't say it for almost every other owner, because the other owners don't have that money. And while we'd love to see teams like the Pirates and the Twins and others I can mention spend more of the capital they have, they don't have the money to play with the big boys like this, because there's really not many big boys or girls who can be in the pool swimming with the money that Steve Cohen has. So he's got different kind of cash. This is stupid level cash. So he can play and pay with stupid level contracts. So that's the first thing. You got to get past the nobody's worth any of that money or all of that money, right? And then you got to get to the point of, well, nobody really has that money. Well, this guy has that money. Therefore, the only question that matters, which is just like when you go to that person's house, or just when you sit there and you're saying to your friend or your in-laws or whoever in your head without saying to them, "Oh, geez, that was kind of dumb. Why'd you buy that?" But you don't say it out loud. The same question has to come in your mind: is it worth it for them? Because this is worth it to him, with the him being Steve Cohen. Now let's get to who Juan Soto is. And in that world, is this generational money worth it for Juan Soto? Yes and no. If you're a Met fan, yes. If you're Steve Cohen, who's a Met fan who has billions and owns the team, yes. If you're in the landscape of wanting the Mets to be a consistent contender, then yes. If you're wanting to sit there and say the Mets are no longer the little brother in New York, then the answer to that is a resounding yes. Absolutely. Juan Soto's not a generational player, but he is a generational hitter. And that is something that you can fairly say, I think, and be on either side of this. If you want to say, well, you know what, Ohtani I get, right? Because Ohtani is a one of one. He's a unicorn, right? He can pitch and he can hit, and he's Ohtani. He brings you all the money off the field and the international side of it, and all of that he is, right? And we know he's forget just the best player now. He may very well be the greatest player there ever was or ever is that we ever will see, because nobody has that talent or can do what Ohtani can do. But as a hitter, you can make the claim that Juan Soto is one of one, because he can do what almost no player in the game can do. You're sitting there and saying, well, who are the best players in baseball, right? Who are they? You're still saying Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout somewhere in there if he's healthy, right? Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and then whoever else you want to throw in that next group. He's among the best handful of players in the sport. He's among the best 2 or 3 hitters in the sport. And if you're the Mets and you're trying to then take a next step and build off of all the OMG vibes and everything that they did and everything they accomplished in this surprise, fortuitous, unbelievable run they just went on, where they became baseball darlings. If you don't root for the Phillies or the Braves, you probably, and your team was out, were rooting for the Mets. They're a lovable group. Everybody loves what Lindor stands for and who he is. Everybody loved watching the rise of Vientos. Everybody loved whether he comes back or not. We'll get to that here during this conversation. The Pete rise during the big moments and all of the things that the Mets did when nobody thought they were going to do jack and what comes with it. But if you're sitting there and you're looking at how to then extend that and continue it, while Pete may still be part of the process to do that, bringing back Pete Alonso was not going to do it on its own. Bringing back Pete Alonso and signing a Corbin Burns, who they're not going to sign, but just as an example, or a Sasaki coming in, who they may, right? Or trading for a Crochet, which now not going to happen. We understand, obviously, he's in Boston, and you can go on down the line. There was no group of things you could do, I don't care what you tell me, that was going to be done with more fortitude, to go back to that word, with more impact, which is what you're looking for on your brand and on your franchise now and moving forward, then this move was to be made and would do for your franchise now and moving forward. And that is what it has done immediately, in a snap of a finger. Even with the holes remaining in the lineup, even with the holes remaining in the rotation, regardless of how you slice it or look at it, there was nothing you were going to do. So you get out of all those millions of dollars, and they're going to spend more, clearly, excuse me, that you could have spent, and all the things you could have done, and they were not going to equal the 51 millions and the 51 million things that Juan Soto does immediately, because that is how he impacts your lineup at the plate, whether he hits, whether he walks. You want to say he walks too much. You'd like to see him go ahead and take more chances, and you want to break down hitting in 2024 versus how it was when I grew up and you're sitting there watching in 1984. We can go ahead and we could do that till we're blue, but end of day, he's going to impact the lineup as much, if not more, than literally any other player in the sport can do so. And that is a statement that is difficult to make with, outside of 1 or 2 other players, anyone else that is living. And that is why you pay him the money. That is why you overpay the money. I've always said pitching is different, but I remember sitting there in winter meetings in San Diego, and Garrett Cole was a free agent. I remember sitting there, and the Angels were in on it, and I don't remember if they were at 7 or 8 years. I know Cole got 9, but they were right there in on it, and they didn't want to go to 9 years. And I remember freaking out about that, as Angel fans maybe have for years since, but sitting there thinking and scratching my head literally with the hairs I have left and trying to understand if they understand that team in that specific situation, and there are many like it, that in today's day and age, in this sport specifically, where you don't got caps and you don't got floors and you're dealing with the unlimited salaries, that it is about the price of admission you are paying for those extra years that you will pay for dearly, like the Dodgers even will with Ohtani, like the Mets might at the end of the Lindor contract, and you go to Phillies with Harper, and any long-term deal you ever want to look at, because no one's going to be that good or that healthy at that age. But that is why this deal is also different than most of these other deals. Now, I'm not sitting there and telling you, well, if one team signs a bad deal, why should this team do it? It doesn't make sense. I get it. Great. But how many of these deals have you seen legitimately where in this sport or any, when you see a length of deal that is this long and you see a deal that is longer than you think, right? How many times is the age that is the starting point 26 years old? The answer is rarely ever. The big question is always, why are they paying this guy that deal at 31 years old? Why are they paying this guy that deal at even 29 years old? He's about to be 30, 2 months into the first season. How you doing that? Well, you're not doing that here because he's starting at 26. Now, part of that is it seems like he's been playing since he's 9, because we've seen him since he was 19. And I remember being on Turner doing the broadcast as they were running around celebrating, saying that it is kind of a shame that he's not even old enough to go grab a drink afterwards. Lucky he's in the locker room and they won't care, because he was like 19. Was he 20? Maybe. Certainly under 21. But at 26 years old, it is a different level. So if you were going to take, where would it make sense to pay out this kind of a deal? And you take in the owner and the money he's got, the city that it's in, what he's trying to do for this franchise, what the player does, the age of the player, and you put bang, 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 all of those things, and throw all those ducks in a row, throw them out there, put all of your, all of your eggs in that basket, right? Everything comes up as this being in the 1-and-1 kind of a situation where it would be the right thing to do, a great, an amazing, a wonderful thing to do. That's the business side of it. Now, let's get to if you're a Met fan. Forget about the money, forget about the years, forget about what anyone says, forget about any of that, and just revel in the fact that you are looking at a player who just signed, and I like something I saw Gary Cohen say, he's right, monumental a signing as the Mets have ever made, goes right up there with the trade for Piazza and one or two other moments in literally the annals of Mets time in terms of what it does and what it means, okay? Because he is going to, as long as he continues to perform the way he does, be the best position player that has ever played for the New York Mets. You can argue he's the most talented player that has ever worn this uniform for even a day. In terms of hitting, you could certainly argue that now. That is how good he is. Now, could he do what Met players have done? I'm not comparing him with any of these, right? But we know what happened to Roberto Alomar, first ballot Hall of Famer, unbelievable player, maybe greatest second baseman of all time, and then what happened when he became a Met. And there are 48,000 other examples of what happens where I used to joke years ago when I would say catch the fever up on the top of Shea Stadium, because that was their motto, that the fever was what you got when you signed with or got traded to the Mets. And it was cured, Kevin Mitchell, others, when you left, right? That's just the way it's been. So you could sit there and you could be solemn and worry about all the negative things that are going to happen, but you'd be crazy to do that. Just like you'd be crazy if you didn't enjoy what just went on at the end of this season and this entire run this team just went on, and the vibes, inject them into my veins that they gave you after all the, pardon my French, shit that they've given you for the rest of your life and existence as a Met fan. Don't do it to yourselves. Enjoy this moment. Go get your Soto jersey. Get the heck out to Port St. Lucie. You haven't been to spring training in 20 years. That's the year to go do it. Get out there and get your tickets and sit there and create, your team in MLB The Show today. Forget for the next version and put Soto in it. I mean, these are the things you want to do. This is the kind of day that you just sit there, you soak up, and you enjoy. Go watch that press conference I just viewed 5 times over. Take in absolutely every minute, because you got to get past the business and you got to realize that this is what the joy is about of being a sports fan. It's about moments like these, because we know that as a Met fan, I always say, the light at the end of the tunnel, it's usually a train. I understand that, but we're not going to sit there and think about that today, because we are going to experience joy today. Because Juan Soto, one of the great hitters of our lifetime, you can say that already, one of the great hitters of our lifetime, has just signed to be with this team that we root for the rest of our lifetime, pretty much. Okay? So enjoy all that. Now, the other part of it, and that is they can't be done. They're not done, but they can't be done. They need more pitching. They need to get Pete Alonso back. They need to hope he'll take a little less money, because now with Soto there, they got the same agent, so that maybe helps. But he understands, hey, look, maybe I'm not going to get paid $200 million or whatever it is from somebody else. But I got to understand that if I'm getting offered less by the Mets, it's not because they love me any less. It's not because they want me any less. It's because now I'm fitting in the fold where I'm joining the team that just got where we all got, with Juan Soto there too. Hello, how do you do? And if not, they got to figure out how to replace him, because the lineup is not deep enough. It needs help. They need to figure out what they're going to do at second base. They need to figure out what they're going to do at third and first base. Is Vientos going to slide over if they don't get Alonso? Do they look perhaps in a trade scenario for Arenado where they're on his list to bring him in his defense and hope some of the offense still returns and get him over at third base and move Vientos to first and whatever other options there are? Because their lineup is not deep enough. It's not. It needs work. Even with Lindor at Soto at the top. Their rotation is not deep enough. It's not. Do you bring back Sean Manaea? I'd love to see him back, but how much are you overpaying? If I'm Sean Manaea, members of his family, I know there's no guarantees I can continue to pitch that way, whether you change arm angles or not, right? No guarantee. And who knows how tired he got from all the expansion of the innings. We saw him die out at the end of the year. Clearly understandable. Being tired. But I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what I'm paying for moving forward. So I'm sitting there and I'm banking on him taking the largest deal. I'm trying to get that extra year from somebody of guaranteed money. If I'm Manaea, are they going to be able to play with that? Can they get in there and bring him back into this group, into the rotation? Because they're missing, not just an arm on the back end. They're missing an arm in the front end of the rotation. They need somebody between or with Senga at the front end before you get to Peterson and Montas and the rest of what you have. They just do. They need to expand out the bullpen. They just do. Where does Clay Holmes fit? Okay, it's nice to say, well, he's going to fit in as a starter. I don't know how easy that's going to work. Let's not forget, this was the organization that didn't think it would work with Seth Lugo and had that pan out. So who knows what's going to happen? Nobody expected that either, right? So there are a lot of questions still about where the team moves forward. Soto alone does not make you the favorite. It doesn't make you better than the Dodgers. It doesn't make you better than a healthy version of the Atlanta Braves, probably. And I know Fried is gone, but we know Alex Anthopoulos and who he is and what he is, and they will fix, and they will input, and they will add and make impact, I'm sure. But it does put you in a position where you should be excited. You should sit there and be jacked up about the season. You should be jacked up about where your franchise is. It's no more of Mr. Met giving you the finger and being a joke and being a laughingstock, because that So Mets is so much fun right now. Enjoy that. And hope you enjoyed this. More Unfiltered is to come. I am back. It is good to be with you. And we will see you soon. Courtesy, as always, of our good friends at BetOnline.